I would like to call this meeting of the Festus City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Boyer,
Here.
Councilman Collier, Councilwoman Templeton,
Here.
Councilman Weiner,
Here.
Councilman Dennis,
Here.
Councilman Vins,
Here.
Councilman Cook,
Here.
Councilman Tennant.
We do have a quorum. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda. Tonight, we have for bills $336,247.40.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Vins,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes. Motion for the consent agenda passes. Remarks of visitors. Tonight we have Mary Jane Theodore. If you want to come up.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mary Jane. You have 5 minutes to present.
Okay, my name is Mary Jane Theodoro, and off the record, Jim Theodoro was my father-in-law. We had two reasons, my neighbors with me, we had two reasons to come. One is our street, and the gentleman from Public Works called me Friday afternoon, and he said he would take care of that. The next reason is my property borders on the east side of the Knights of Columbus Park or whatever it is. They never come and cut the grass. Mr. Gardner lives across the street from me. He cuts the grass. There's a big area that's all overgrown with trees broken off and hanging over on my house in the back. And people dump. They back up with pickup trucks and have bags of leaves they throw down there. One Sunday afternoon, a man came, I never saw him before. He had 18 bags that were made out of that blue plastic tarp. 18 bags he dumped down there. And of course, we have a few neighbors that do that under cover of night. But I wish that could be taken care of. There's lots of snakes and stuff in there. And also the drain that goes behind there, I call it a sewer. Most of it down the block is covered underground. Where it comes around by the Knights of Columbus and by me, it's empty. I mean, it's not covered. When it rains, the water pours down Spring Street and goes in there. No one ever looks at it. No one ever does anything with it. I've called Hillsborough. I've called the Knights of Columbus. I got a lady, evidently was in their club room. She probably was the bartender. Never heard back from them. I called the Conservation Department, not the Conservation Club. I called over to Public Works about 5 years ago. The man that answered the phone just blew me off. I called him back the next year and he goes, well, somebody called here last year. I said, yes, it was me. And he said, well, when you see somebody dumping in there, he said, call the police. I said, I'm not going to be the monitor. And it's going to get stopped up. And I'm going to be the one that gets flooded because of all that openness under there. I don't know who to call. I don't know who will come and clean that mess up. It's the Knights of Columbus property. They don't even come and cut the grass. Mr. Gardner cuts the grass.
Okay. Can we,
My contact.
we'll make contact with the American Legion,
No, Knights of Columbus.
Knights of Columbus, I'm sorry,
Yeah, Knights of Columbus.
sorry. We'll make contact with the Knights of Columbus
Okay,
and do what we need to do to get them to clean up their property.
yeah, the man I talked to at the Public Works, he said that was probably a code violation or something. So,
Yes, ma'am.
okay, and I don't know if you need to talk to Mr. Gardner tonight. He spoke with one of you. He was late in getting his email.
No, I don't.
But she's the only one that we've seen.
You're the only one that we received a notice from to talk, so,
Okay,
you know,
yeah, okay,
but yes, we will get a hold of the Knights of Columbus and make sure they understand. And we'll send someone out to take a look at the property also.
okay,
Okay,
okay, thank you so much.
all righty, you're welcome, and you have a good evening. Chris Hagan.
Chris Hagan here, 10236 Huntington Ridge, Festus, Missouri. I own the building at 102 East Main Street, now known as Boxed In Escape Rooms. It has a basement. And I own the building at 101 East Main Street, the old Commerce Bank building, and it does not have a basement. So around August the 3rd, the community experienced a great deal of rain. And the 102 building with the basement did not get any water in it at all. So I think after the city went through and repaved that part of Adams Street, it appears to be working. However, it is still an issue with snow melt. On the other hand, the 101 building, the old Commerce Bank, it got a whole bunch of water in it, which I believe most of the water came in the back of the building from the AT&T manhole. I did take a bunch of pictures, wrote a nice little letter. I went by the AT&T building and man, there was a lady standing outside. And she was from the, I can't remember, Creve Coeur office. Ironically enough, the AT&T employees cannot use their AT&T Apple iPhones inside the building because they don't get any service for the AT&T tower. So we both had a nice little chuckle about that. And I told her she might want to check with Verizon. Anyway, she said that she would get this piece of paper to the right person. I still haven't heard anything, but I had a great conversation with Matt. He gave me some different ideas as to what to do and what to look for first, and found some things that I'm addressing. And while I was addressing it, about between 12 and 12:30, I did have 3 AT&T trucks that literally was right there in the back of the building. Matt and I also discussed the front of the building that is getting water in, because as most of you know, the pavers that are there, underneath the pavers is about 3 feet of sand. So once that water works its way through the pavers, then it's getting in. I have no idea what's underneath that building. There's no crawl space. There's no nothing. In fact, it's kind of interesting. That part of next to Adams Street was the old post office, as I recall it. Back in 1887. And then I think it was a bank there on the left side of the building. And eventually they merged the 2 buildings together. So they're not exactly the same height. So just a friendly little report. Talked to Matt, got some ideas. I'll be getting with Matt again here in the next couple of days. Because I think if I can solve my problem with the sidewalk, we might be able to solve whoever else possibly would have a problem with water getting into their buildings from the rain or the snow melt. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, sir. Mr. Povich.
I'd like to submit this literature to the council and the Honorable Mayor Richards. Pass it along. I'm going to give thanks to Almighty God, to our Lord Jesus Christ, the God of Abraham, Jacob, and Isaac. Most early founders, our military past and present, and our first responders. Okay, almost 4 years ago, I came here to thank Police Captain at the time, Wendell, for curtailing the severe speeding problem on Orion Road. It was a situation out of control, and the problem was terminated. Subsequently, history has repeated itself. Orion Road has developed into a major traffic artery of Festus. Obviously, one might say we have on Festus similar to arteriosclerosis. I got that. I'm talking about 40, 60 miles an hour plus. Regularly, morning and evening hours, intermittently during day and late evening hours. Cars, trucks, mini motorcycles, commercial vehicles. The police are more than welcome to use my driveway as was done before. Housing developed 811 Orion Road in Savannah Place were erroneously approved by the city council and board of adjustment. There is no buffer zones and the homes are clustered too much together. These types of homes are called cluster homes, and they're great contributors to CO2 emissions, carbon footprints, and global warming. 40% of carbon emissions evolve from clustered new housing developments. In closing out here, hydrofluoric acid is still being put in the residents of Festus drinking water, showers, dishwater, etc. Bath water. Employees are compelled to wear special safety equipment to install it. This is a systemic accumulative poison like arsenic and lead. If we are to guard against if we are to guard against ignorance and remain free, it's the responsibility of every American to be informed. That's from Thomas Jefferson. Thank you. And this needs to be rectified. And this is going, a lot of cities don't have this. And I've been contesting this for a long time. I first found out about 35 years ago, and I had to get involved like 10, 11 years ago. And it's poison. It's poison. And if this stuff's so good, if you put in the lake, you put in the river, you put in the air, consider it a pollutant, you put it in your water. And why do people use protective equipment to install and put it in your water? That's fascinating. Thank you.
All righty, thank you, sir. Moving right along. We have bids from the Parks Department for pond fountains.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Tonight, I am asking approval for purchase of 4 1-horsepower pond fountains for Al Brown Lake. It's been a couple years since we've had any kind of aeration in those ponds. These are going to be a little bit different than the surface aerators that were in there before. These are a little more decorative. I think they have a shooting spray of a bell of 6 foot with an 8-foot center. So it's not going to be just your normal aerating basin type fountains.
I think it's a great job to keep those waterways aerated, to keep them alive. So yeah, I'm definitely for this. One thing I'd also like to see around the ponds is if maybe we could get some greenery, some anti-erosion type rather than just
Absolutely.
brick-rack around there.
It's starting to wear in a few spots, and we've been looking at it, just trying to come up with a game plan of something. Gabion stone seems to be the best usually. We can also incorporate some greenery around that too, but I mean, we can definitely look into that for
Yeah.
sure.
There was some serious erosion problems. So
Absolutely.
thank you, sir.
And you had 3 bids and the low bid
Yes.
was from the pond
The
guys.
guys, it's online. I've actually been in contact with them multiple times. This is all they do. So, you know, I gave them the profile of our ponds. They gave me the equipment that we would need. So, and this would also give us 1 spare on the shelf too. So we had enough in the budget for that. So we'd have 3 fountains running with 1 on the shelf ready to go if we had turtle or whatever could come from a malfunction of one of the 3.
All righty. And that was for $9,200.
$9,200.
Is there any other discussion? I will entertain a motion to approve the bid of $9,200 by the pond guys.
Oh, second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Benz,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Cook.
Motion has passed. Go ahead and get your fountains.
All right.
Okay, our second bid tonight is for the walking trail at Kreitz Park.
So tonight I'm asking for approval for the asphalt walking trail that we've kind of been designing over the past few months for the what I call the back loop of the park. So it'd be the very far end of Kreitz Park. This will be an asphalt walking path. There's two options we actually have. We have option A, which would be a 6 foot wide walking path, asphalt. It would incorporate the workout stations, a pond walk along the smaller pond in the rear back there, and kind of just meanders through that field along the tree lines. So it'd be a buffer between pedestrian and vehicle traffic. So, and then option B would be an 8 foot. In my opinion, the wider the better. I would go with option. Both of them come in under budget. This was originally in conjunction with the street overlay projects, but the timing from whenever they were in town to do those was right at Firecracker Festival. It just didn't all work out. So this, basically provide a safer barrier, especially in that rear loop where the road narrows tremendously compared to the rest of the park. And this is just kind of phase one of a plan that I have for just continuing the walking trails throughout the park. So this is from Joker's Paving. The 6 foot wide option would be $178,500. And option B for the 8 foot wide would be $216,800. Both are under budget.
Sounds good.
Josh, how far does this take? 3/4?
It's about 3/4 of a mile. It's 4,000 linear feet. So roughly, 3/4 of a mile or so. And it won't be the traditional loop that you do on the road. So back by Pavilion 19, which is the pavilion that's Lakeside back there, it's kind of going to drop down and wrap around that pond on the backside of it. And then it'll all be in between either the inside or outside of the road. There'll be some parts that'll be outside the road where those workout stations are in the back, kind of incorporate people to use those. And then it'll kind of switch back to that inside of that road through the field where the soccer's played and everything. None of it will be interfere with any of the soccer fields or anything like that.
And no cars, no bikes, just strictly walkers.
Just
so we
strictly
can
walking.
Start working.
Cars
congestion.
and vehicles are supposed to share the roadway. This would be pedestrian only.
Great. So we'll start working on congestion then.
Any, has future parking plans been brought into consideration with where this path is going?
No. We have the parking for the pavilion back there and the parking for, that's 15 and the very, very rear. And then parking for 19 has its own little gravel lot down there. Neither one of them would be in the path of this. It'll actually be on the opposite side of Pavilion 15. So it'll be on the outside of the road, but with the workout stations that are currently there that have been there for years.
Sure.
And it'll go past that and then it'll jump back to the inside and it'll actually wrap around and be totally away from Pavilion 19.
Okay.
So any kind of parking we ever wanted to add, it wouldn't interfere with any field parking for Firecracker Festival, Twin City Days, and nothing like that. Actually, it's going to give us a couple of approaches to get into that field a little bit easier.
Okay. Thank you, Josh.
Hey, Josh, what's the standard on the path? The 6 foot, 8 foot? I know you said wider is nicer, but
Yeah.
to keep in line with the rest of the paths and the out we have.
Yeah, I mean, that's
future paths.
The bike path is roughly about 8 foot. So, I mean, either or really would work, but if you're going to, if you have a company in town that's going to do it, I would say go wider. That way, if you're going to have a bunch of people early mornings, late evenings, there's always people out there. It gives everybody space to move around if you're passing or going.
Well, the future ones you're thinking of, is there going to be room for those 8 foot?
Yeah,
or
because
not?
my next spot I would like to go to be down in the bottoms. It's away from vehicle traffic completely, and you're probably talking almost a 2-mile loop down there. So this would be all along where the disc golf course is and everything. Disc golfers would be able to utilize it. as well as anybody else who just wants to go for a casual walk in the park. And it's a little more scenic down there. You don't have, everybody that's using the park, you're away from all that.
Yeah, I was just curious what the normal out there is, if it's 6 or 8, like you said, or, I mean.
Typically, sidewalks are typically 6 foot. And that's kind of what I went with. But then Grant gave me the proposal for an 8 foot. And I think if we're gonna put a walking path in and we have the room to go 8 foot, I think that's what we should do.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion?
Lower ends, not to get in the weeds, but we might want to make sure that's not. in the
Yeah, we'll have to look
floodplain,
into it.
The wetland, so
Yeah.
you're in my cup of tea now,
Yeah.
just to be safe.
Yeah.
The county learned.
But we could also, I
hard
wonder if we could do
lesson.
mulch back there.
Anything that's.
Anything that's,
Yeah, but the problem is when it's man-made, you gotta have a floodplain development permit and you gotta show if it's in a floodway,
Yeah.
Mark will tell you it's no rise. So just
okay.
food for thought.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to approve an 8-foot walking trail for $216,800 from Joggers paving.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call, please.
Councilman Cook,
Yep.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yep.
Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton. Yes. Councilman Benz.
Yes.
Motion has passed. Let's have a walking trail.
Thank you, everybody.
All right. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 6 ordinances tonight. So let's try to get through them as quickly as we can. Tonight, we have Bill 4735 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 4735, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the issuance of special tax bills under Chapter 215 of the City of Festus, Missouri Municipal Code, certifying said special tax bills to the collector of County of Jefferson to be collected with the City of Festus real estate tax bills and establishing an effective date.
Could I have a staff report, please?
This is our annual assessment.
Thank you, sir.
You said brevity.
Yes. Is there any councilman that would like to have, or council persons? Sorry. Yeah, I need to turn it off. I'm sorry. Do we have any councilmen that would like this bill placed on the agenda for the next meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4735 for the second time in title only? Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4735 for the second time?
Bill number 4735, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the issuance of special tax bills under Chapter 215 of the City of Festus, Missouri Municipal Code, certifying said special tax bills to the collector of the County of Jefferson to be collected with the City of Festus real estate tax bills and establishing an effective date. Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Benz,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton. Yes. Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Cook, Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Bill 4735 has passed. Next, we have Bill 4736 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 4736, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, establishing a three-way stop at the southernmost intersection of Championship Lane and Masters Drive, and establishing the placement of signs enforcing said stop signs and establishing an effective date.
Bill 4736 is now open for discussion. Could I have a staff report, please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Before you this evening is a consideration of actually the neighborhood. The neighborhood put forth a petition. I'm sorry that petition did not make it into your packet, but this is our normal petition process for stop signs. So they requested and got the signatures required for the petition, turned it in. The police chief and the fire chief and I have reviewed it and can find no reason why not to place a stop sign where they've asked. It is not a through street. It's just in the back of a neighborhood. It seems like it will please them. I have some photos in the packet if you guys want to take a look at where they propose to put the 3 new signs or 3 little orange dots on your map. So that's what we're contemplating this evening.
Bill 4736 is now open for discussion.
So Matt, you answered my question. So the citizens did because I shared a link to them. I was against this 4 years ago, but now the subdivision being built out, a lot of kids are up there.
Mhm.
I changed my mind. Let's put it that way, as people get more aggressive driving.
Yeah, I apologize. It's my fault. The petition didn't make it there. I just didn't get it to carry. So I'm sorry.
I'd like to state that they came by my house and asked me if I would sign the petition. However, I explained to them that it might be a conflict of interest. And they understood that. But does any councilman wish this bill to be carried over for the next meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4736 for the second time?
So moved.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4736 for the second time?
Bill number 4736, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, establishing a 3-way stop at the southernmost intersection of Championship Lane and Masters Drive, and establishing the placement of signs enforcing said stop signs and establishing an effective date. Councilman Cook,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Vin,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Bill 4736 has passed. Next, we have Bill 4737 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 4737, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, approving the preliminary improvement plat for 790 American Legion Drive and establishing an effective date.
Bill 4737 is now open for discussion. Can I have a staff report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. I need to clarify one thing. The property has gone under a couple different address changes with 911 and such. So it's 790 at this time, and that might change again. But this is the proposed apartment complex development, 200 units, corner of A and Truman. This did go through P&Z. They did unanimously recommend for approval. All the improvements have been approved. We received the stormwater detention basin report back from Horner and Schifrin late Friday. They have 2 very minor corrections to be made. Otherwise, it should be set to go.
All righty.
And the developer is here. They have a presentation.
All righty, sir. You can now step forward and give us your quick presentation.
Sorry for the rookie mistake.
That's all right. No problem.
Quick presentation. Matt, can you give me a hand, please, sir? I don't think I can beat the city administrator. So just briefly, I'll go through the project. We originally proposed 244 units originally, and now we've reduced the amount of units. Go to the second slide already. So this is just the property topographic survey showing the local streets, American Legion Drive and South Mill. And then 61, 67. Next slide, please. So this is the revised layout. So everyone probably is aware that grading operations have been occurring on this site for several months. And during the process, we revised the layout to be a little less aggressive on the number of units to reduce foundation costs. Originally, the buildings were going to have 2.5 stories. Now they're just simply 2 stories. So they're 1 and 2 bedroom units. We still have the fitness center, the dog park. We still have 2 entrances. The second entrance is currently proposed as an emergency only, and we can get into that later if there's questions. But it's the same general arrangement of streets and buildings. There's just 8 buildings instead of 10, and they're 2 levels instead of 2.5 levels. So we now have 200 units. And one other item that's come about in the last year is that we're providing sanitary sewer service through this property to the adjacent property owner to the south, which is Festus Commons. That gravity sanitary sewer eliminates a lift station that would have served Festus Commons, and of course a force main that would have pumped up to American Legion. Next slide, please. So this is just a larger scale showing the southern portion of the site, the proposed buildings, storm sewers. We're proposing, I think we obviously have about 400 parking spaces. We have covered parking proposed. And, you know, so it won't be garages, it's carports. And if you look closely, you can see how we're planning to connect sanitary sewers. Next slide, please. Northern portion of the property site plan showing the balance of the buildings. You can also see on the top of the sheet, the proposed emergency access drive from the back of the lot, or excuse me, building 6, I believe that is. Can't read it. Sorry. Next slide, please. So this is more of the same grading plan. So this shows the proposed grades. These have all been approved by the staff and Lauren Schifrin. Next slide. More of the same grading plan showing the proposed grades on the site. Obviously, there's a lot of relief. Everyone is aware of the hills that are on that site. So we've moved quite a bit of material to date. And so the site's basically prepped. Next slide, please. So this slide probably thought would be of interest to everyone, especially the gentleman that spoke earlier. So this is the existing entrance and our proposed improvements to the proposed entrance Westridge Drive, which is that divided drive. To the right of that is the proposed emergency access that would be gated. And then the striping that's proposed. So we're going to provide an overlay of American Legion from all across this project up to the American Legion South Mill Street curve. So currently there's an island, has a brand new looking street light in it. And so essentially we're proposing a dedicated right out and then a left out and then basically a right in or a left in from South Main going southbound. So we're proposing stop bars and signage. I know that Danny's concerned about vehicles from this site cutting across the back of his parking lot. Of course, that's illegal. That's trespassing. So we can address it. So essentially the northern or the western part of American Legion Drive along Danny's property is all gravel, just a gravel drive all across that area. And then he has 2 loading docks in the back of that building. So access control could be helped. We could put a curb between where like the front parking is and the loading docks are to somewhat limit that. And we could provide other curbing adjacent if the property owner is willing to work with us. So, we're wanting to be good neighbors, and we can't solve all the city's problems, I know there was talk about traffic studies. So the issue with the traffic study is we have a large development to the south of ours that we don't know what's going to be going in there. We did try to work extensively with the Festus Commons project to make a second entrance there. Staff is aware of that. We just couldn't overcome the vertical difference in grade of over 20 feet in a short distance, about 140 feet. So it seemed like there was an opportunity there, and we spent about a month trying to work that out. And we just couldn't come up with a feasible solution. And then there's also other, there was the physical part of it, and then there was a legal part. So it did not come to a resolution. So I'm going to try to speed up. So Matt, can you just so these are some photos of a recent project I just completed. This is Stony Pines and Barnhart. These buildings is more Stony Pines. These proposed buildings are proposed the same design as this, maybe different colors. This is Miller Crossing. That's the fitness center. So this will have a 3,000 square foot fitness center pool. There's some of the covered parking. You can just cut through them. Then this is stuff you've already seen from planning and zoning. So I'd like to address any questions any of the council members have.
Will it be an on-site manager in this?
There will not 24 hours, but yes, there's an on-site manager.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So you said coming out of your complex, which looks like a very nice, and it seems like you're trying to be a good neighbor. Coming out of the complex, you had emergency entrance. I believe you referred to the right. Now, would that be something that would be for emergency traffic, say ambulance, fire trucks, or in the event of an emergency, you needed to make additional, but that wouldn't have to be unlocked every time we had, say, an ambulance call or check a fire alarm, or am I following it that right?
It's proposed to have a gate with a lockbox that the emergency vehicles could use, would have access to use in an event.
So we wouldn't have to unlock that every time. Say we had an ambulance call there. I have an EMS background. We could come in the other entrance. We would require someone to unlock that every time we had a situation, because we could use the other entrance, right? Is that what
Yes.
you're planning?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it sounded to me like you've talked to Danny, and it sounded to me like you guys may be able to work out your problems there without the aid of the city. You guys been in touch, so it sounds like you guys are working on that. And you're willing to work with Danny to try to get rid of any issues he had.
The developer is willing to work with Danny and the other property owners.
Okay.
The comments were addressed to the city, so that's why I was addressing.
Right. I think the
matter of protocol,
road
but
out.
we had a discussion. The developer is here tonight. He was here at planning and zoning, and after the planning and zoning hearing, those two spoke. I was present, so we haven't come to a solution. There's probably not a perfect solution because we can't just block it off, because I'm sure Danny wants access to his property. But at the same time, we can't police everyone 24/7. So,
like I said, my thought is if you're working with Danny, that's half the battle. I think the road out there, we might have some issues that we have to work on. So that's all I have, sir. Thank you.
Just one other thing. The developer is very hands-on. Lorenzo DeBrecht is here tonight. He'll be at the site all through construction and has been probably every day for about the last 6 months since Stony Pines is pretty much. The Lorenzo, the DeBrecht family will be on site to work on the project.
What is the rent spread?
There's going to be 1 and 2 bedroom units, $1,350 for the 1 bedroom, $1,650 for the 2 bedrooms.
And so I realize rents have gone up, but my curiosity is just, if you're unable to fill all 200 units, what is that
What is that process?
Stony Pines was opened in October. Yeah, they're at 80% on Stony Pines and it's been
So
open
if
less
you
than a
guys
year.
have any, I'm Lorenzo
before.
DeBrecht, owner and developer. If you guys have any other questions about like the apartments or the rents or anything like that, I would probably be better suited to answer that. But as far as that question, so we've done almost 1,000 units in Jefferson County, and that's the rents we've gotten on every project. So as far as filling them up, we usually have it full in 6 to 8 months. It's been our track record. So that's not really a big concern for us. But yeah. And to address Danny's issue, we're more than willing to, put a curb, do whatever we need to do. I get his concern being a business owner. So, yeah, if there's anything we can do, we're more than willing to work with the city. We like Festus. We want to do more work down here. So whatever we can do to make this go and help you guys out, we're more than willing to do that.
Hey, Greg.
Question, is any of your property subsidized rent?
No,
Or-
nothing.
You're keeping them all at, kind of professional level of housing?
Yeah, we don't do any of that. We are high-end units. We are planning, every project we've built, we have planned to keep. That hasn't been the case, but we build them as we're gonna keep them. So we want high-end clientele. We want high-end rent and people that are gonna pay on time and, take care of the place. We don't want, we want high-end clientele.
Hey, question for Greg and Matt. I am interested in a traffic study, so we have a long-term solution because a traffic study just doesn't talk about that. It also gives us a number of when we hit the maximum capacity for a road. So I'd like to work on that in the future. So
I think
citizens'
the-
concerns don't fall on deaf ears.
As the gentleman alluded to, though, there's kind of a question mark hanging out there, which is the development to the south. And we really have no indication as to what that might be to date. And I know Lorenzo and his group have had conversations with that developer as well, in part to address some of the access issues, but also to kind of get a better sense of what it's all about. And we're still kind of left in the dark as far as what may happen there. But I think certainly as that property development moves forward, they're going to be in the same position that we are here tonight, which is there's a preliminary plat approval. There's going to be obviously some conversations that happen. And I think as part of that, we can certainly say that we need to take a closer look at how an increased traffic flow is going to impact the area for sure.
Yeah, because I'm more interested in what's the maximum capacity that road can take, and that's what we'll get. And on another note, I work with their developments quite a bit in the county and never had an issue at all. Not at all.
Thank you.
And I've dealt with all Turtle and Stony and
Sugar.
Sugar Creek. Yeah, never had an issue. I can vouch for that.
Is there any other questions? Just one last question. When do you anticipate this being finished?
14 months.
Okay,
I'd say 14 months we'd be done building.
okay. And a concern of mine is with Danny back there, that communications, if they haven't been established, that they are established. So I would appreciate that.
Communications as far as what, just him and I.
Yes.
On the same page.
You guys are good?
Yeah, we can work something out. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
And another thing to ease your guys, mind about the traffic. Not everybody's leaving at 7, 8 in the morning. I mean, we've built, like I said, almost 1,000 units. I'm there every day on site and I see the traffic. It's not as detrimental as it looks on paper. On paper, you see 300 cars leaving at 7 a.m. It looked like there'd be a line all the way through the complex, but it's not that. People work from home. One person might leave at 7, one person might leave at 9, one person might leave at the middle of the day and work the afternoon. It's never been, all these projects have been, traffic's always a major concern. It's never been an issue. And I can vouch for that. I mean, he's been there 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and I'm sure if you ask him, he's not seen too much traffic. I just wanted to ease everybody's mind. It's not as detrimental as it sounds. So.
Last question. Do you have sidewalks that egress the property so that they can get to, say, Tetros or in that area?
We have sidewalks that run throughout the property. Yeah, from anywhere in the property, you can get by sidewalk to the entrance to each building. But you can get all the way up to South Mill and American Legion from the sidewalk.
And we don't
If that
have any
makes sense.
sidewalks on American
We
Legion.
have an STP sidewalk that runs up South Mill and across American Legion.
Okay.
That was one of the earlier STP projects we did.
Perfect. Thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
No, I'm fine too with it. I mean, I understand this. I know we do need a traffic study, but it's like you said, right now, it's too early to even figure out till we know what's coming in that other place. I mean, yeah, by then, yeah, we might have to do something completely major, but it's hard to say.
And she's got her entrance coming out
67.
67.
Yeah.
So it's really gonna be, majority of our people are gonna go South Mill, from my opinion. They're gonna go South Mill, they're gonna go to 55 or, you know, and her people are gonna be going out 67. So
Right, yeah.
I'm hoping it's a complete, they're on the opposite sides.
Right, and I mean, I'm really excited for what's finally developing, but it's hard to.
So are we.
Yeah.
We're ready to go.
All righty. Is there any other discussion? Is there any council member that would like this bill to be carried over to the next meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4737 for the second time in title only?
So moved.
Motion's been made
Second?
and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4737 for the second time?
Bill number 4737, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, approving the preliminary improvement plat for 790 American Legion Drive and establishing an effective date. Councilman Cook.
Yes, but one question, Brian, make sure there's no conflict of interest. I'm issued their land disturbance permits. I do their environmental inspections for their projects. Couldn't pick anybody out of a lineup. I just want to make sure if I vote, I'm okay.
That doesn't sound like something that's bestowing a benefit on you or anything like that. So I think you can participate in the vote if you so.
Thank you, sir. Yes.
Councilman Weiner.
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Councilman Benz.
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton.
Yes.
Bill 4737 has passed. Next, we have Bill 4738 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill for the first time?
Bill number 4738, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, approving the major subdivision for 1831 Scenic and establishing an effective date.
Bill 4738 is now open for discussion. Could I have a staff report, please?
Thank you again, Mr. Mayor and Council. This is six lot subdivision going in at the top of Scenic. You all probably noticed the dirt moving over there. That's zoned R4. We had that rezoned several years ago. It was going to be an apartment complex, and they're now proposing 6 single family dwellings going on that property. We've got everything approved on that property: stormwater, sewers, and water. It did go through P&Z last Thursday, and they did unanimously approve it, recommend for approval. And the developer is here with that as well, if you have any questions.
Is there any questions?
Hey, Mark, the backside of those properties that goes off that hill, is there anything special that needs to be done as far as that eroding away? Or it's kind of hard to get an idea unless you actually see it, but does that get pretty close to the drop off there? Over off of, I guess that'd be Huber, go down Hickory, make a right on Huber, back in there where the rock bluff is.
Yeah, it sure did. It actually abuts right close to the corner of Eagle Valley subdivision. It does drop off. That's where the stormwater detention basin is going in on that back corner. They had looked at developing the sewers to go that direction and are instead taking them across Scenic or North Mill. So there's really no development back there other than the stormwater detention.
Thanks, sir.
You bet.
Living right in that area, I mean, that's like a blind. You're gonna have people blindly pulling out into, see, that's my concern,
Mhm.
is that there's no recourse from where those houses are gonna have to sit. My concern is that even construction is going to be an issue. But that road is so narrow right there, you're gonna have people pulling out as people are exceeding the speed limit continually each direction on scenic North Mill.
Sure.
So I guess that's kind of my concern, is because with those other two houses that are relatively newer houses that are relatively close to that as well, that's kind of been some of that issue. So I guess my concern is you're gonna have a lot of construction equipment out there, as well as a pretty narrow space to be building those houses on. Is there concern with that for people that are gonna be moving into that? They're not gonna have the wide space on North Mill. They're gonna have narrow space on scenic.
As far as for the.
Just entering and leaving their residences, as
Mhm.
well as like
Sure.
Kevin had said, how narrow those, I mean, there's not a lot of depth to that space where you could have a setback. I guess that's my concern, is just for safety along
Sure.
North Mill and scenic.
Yep. I think every house along through there from North Mill Drive all the way to Truman Village is just driveways coming out onto scenic and North Mill.
Is there any, I mean, is there any way that we can signage? I mean, new trucks leaving and entering, or is there anything to let people know that?
During the construction phase?
Well, even after, because you're gonna have people coming around coming around those corners. I mean, I see it every single day, people going to work, people coming home, that they're not gonna expect that, and then you're gonna have a lot of people just trying to make that sharp turn into their driveway off of a very busy street during.
We could certainly put some signage to notify drivers that they're coming into an area where their view may be obstructed. Or it's a limited sight distance, I think is typically what you see as far as signage. We can certainly take care of that on our end.
Matt, question for you
Hey.
from Public Works. I think Stacy's onto something. No issues on the road length width on that. What about a right of way? What if we ever try to expand that? I mean, I kind of agree with you. That's some narrow concerns.
It does not look like there's any additional right of way being dedicated for future road width. I don't see any on the preliminary plat. Is that?
No additional,
Yeah.
no, just like any place.
Yeah.
Okay, then how about from a safety concern from your point as Public Works Director?
I think anytime you're backing out of your driveway onto a road like that, you have to have, a lot of caution, but I don't think we can dictate that they have private property with a 3-point turn. I don't think we can put T's on the end of every driveway and have that be a requirement. I don't know that that's something we can legislate. So I think it's just one of those things that as a property owner, if I was building there, yes, I would put that little T on the side of my driveway so I could 90 into that and pull straight out and not have to back out of my driveway onto the busy roadway. But I don't think we can legislate that.
Right. What about, isn't some of that special road district, Festus Special Road District, do we have to get in with them on that, Greg?
That's farther to the north, Kevin.
Okay, so that's up, okay.
Take it as somebody that lives on Horine has to take a chance every time I back out of that driveway with that new subdivision traffic. That's why Mike was here complaining, and that Horine's bad. I know it's not as bad as what's seen it because it's a little bit less, but it's everybody wish they could have a T driveway, but it is what it is, what we live in today's world.
Would it warrant any sort of traffic study?
That might be a bigger question for, we've talked about it twice now this meeting. It might be something that Mark and the planning commission talk about as an overall policy. Should we be discussing this when we have subdivisions or new development that's in excess of X many lots or X many acres? Again, I hate to do something onesie twosie when it seems like they were making special cause for people, and it's not really in our subdivision codes. So if it needs to be in there, why don't we legislate the addition and make it to where it's automatic? Then Mark and I, we know it's time to do the next traffic study, just like we do stormwater, or just like we do anything else. It's legislated, it's part of the process, and we just do it.
I agree with that completely. I do think the signs
just to alert people, be aware for, or potential for stopped vehicle or slowing vehicle or something, because it's not going to be just people coming around the corner. It's going to be people trying to get into their driveway, and we just want people to be safe.
Sure. Yes. Is there any other discussion? Just one last thing, kind of following up on what Stacy had to say, kind of maybe appealing to Gerard, maybe just to mention to people that a T might be something that might be safe for them to have in their driveway area, just to give them a heads up. So before they get themselves in trouble, they might be able to stop themselves from having that trouble. So just an idea. Is there any other discussion?
Matt's onto something.
Dave?
Nice traffic study. Having this traffic study done, I think that'd be a good idea to incorporate all the time. Something like that.
That way it's fair.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any council members that would like this bill carried over to the next meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4738 for the second time in title only?
So moved.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4738 for the second time?
Bill number 4738, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, approving the major subdivision for 1831 Scenic and establishing an effective date. Councilman Dennis,
Yes.
Councilman Benz,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Cook,
No.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Motion passes. Bill 4738 has passed.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Next, we have Bill 4739 on the agenda. Would the clerk please read that bill?
Bill number 4739, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into and execute a contract with Insituform Technologies not to exceed $150,000 for the annual sewer main lining project, incorporating said contract as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date.
Bill 4739 is now open for discussion. Could I have a staff report, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, for your consideration this evening is another opportunity for us to improve our infrastructure, namely, in this case, it's our buried sewer line. So every year we try to do the trenchless sewer line repair. That's where they put that epoxy bladder into our existing lines, sealing defects, cracks, and breaks. This year, we are suggesting or asking for your approval to jump on a cooperative bid arrangement out of Johnson County, Kansas, a place familiar to me, but probably not to most of you all. It's a suburb of city of Kansas City. I believe that that's probably the most expedient way for us to get this project moving forward, as we did not receive any bids through our formal bid process. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Liners good for.
Well, I think their guarantee is 20 years, but we've removed and replaced sewers that they're much older than that, and they still look good as new. You still have to clean them like you do any other sewer, but they are very strong. They're like a plastic sewer line now, PVC kind of.
This may be a little nitpicky,
Mhm.
or I just want clarification. Can you explain some of these dates that are in this?
I can't, as it's not my document. I don't know. I don't exactly understand. I think this must be what I understand was this was a bid from several years ago that has been extended several times, is why the dates are several years apart. Like it says effective from 19, but been signed in 23. So I think they're extending the contract year over year.
So how are we able to get onto this? Was it being situated in?
In situ form informed us that we could use this as a bid cooperative, as it is, I believe, part of Kansas City's Mid-American Regional Council. Their Council of Governments assists jurisdictions in making bid cooperatives like that. MARC, as the acronym would be stated, is very proactive in that realm in Kansas City, and many of the suburbs do bid cooperatives like this.
So with this, there will be paperwork stipulating that it's for Festus.
Yes, we'll have a contract specific to us. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that,
But with the prices that are included in your packet.
okay.
Is there any other discussion? Is there any council member that'd like this bill carried over to the next meeting? Hearing none, do I have a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4739 for the second time in title only?
So moved.
Motion's been made
Second.
and seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4739 for the second time?
Bill number 4739, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into and execute a contract with Instituform Technologies not to exceed $150,000 for the annual sewer main lining project, incorporating said contract as part of this ordinance and establishing an effective date. Councilman Cook.
Yep.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton,
Yes.
Councilman Benz,
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Bill 4739 has passed. And last but not least, Bill 4740 is on the agenda. Would the clerk please read the bill?
Bill number 4740, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, petitioning the County Council of Jefferson County to extend the boundaries of Jefferson County Public Sewer District and to allow the City of Festus to participate in the sewer district and establishing an effective date.
Bill number 4740 is now open for discussion. Could I have a staff report, please?
Brian, you want to jump in on that?
Sure. So this is the next step in the process with our negotiations with Jefferson County Public Sewer District in order to effectuate the eventual agreement for the sale of the sewer plant. We will need to arrange for Jefferson County to have the Public Sewer District to have legal authority to operate within the city limits. So what we're going to propose, and I spoke with counsel for the sewer district and counsel for Crystal City this afternoon. We're going to the plan is to petition the county council to authorize the public sewer district to extend their boundaries to encompass the cities of Festus and Crystal City. So what this ordinance before you does is authorizes the city to make that request to the county council. And also, Greg, I know I distributed a revised draft of this that has an additional clause that really just clarifies that the city consents to Jefferson County Public Sewer District's operation within the city. And that's just to kind of work along the lines of the language that's in the statute, because it speaks of cities consenting to their operation within their boundaries.
Is there any questions? Is there any discussion?
Quick question, Brian, because I'm still bullheaded on two of my sticking points. This is just a step. I know I'm just asking for reassurance. We're still a long ways away, right, Matt? Because
Yes.
it's picking up steam and I still have my sticking points I'm being bullheaded about.
There are still a lot of steps to go.
I just want to make
right.
sure it's need reassurance. Thank you.
Until we sign the final sale agreement, then nothing's really agreed to.
And this is just clearing paperwork right now, making sure the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed, that we're not committing to anything at this point.
Correct. So this just is a mechanism by which we'd allow the sewer district to operate within our boundaries, which they wouldn't otherwise have.
Is there any other questions? Is there any councilman members that would like this bill carried over to the next meeting? Hearing none, I entertain a motion to suspend the rules and read Bill 4740 for the second time in title only. Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. Madam Clerk, would you please read Bill 4740 for the second time?
Bill 4740, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Festus, Missouri, petitioning the County Council of Jefferson County to extend the boundaries of Jefferson County Public Sewer District and to allow the City of Festus to participate in the sewer district and establishing an effective date. Councilman Cook.
Yes.
Councilman Boyer.
Yes.
Councilman Weiner.
Yes.
Councilman Dennis.
Yes.
Councilman Benz.
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton.
Yes.
Bill 4740 has passed. Okay, new business. Fiscal year 2023-24 budget.
I'm sure after all of those ordinances, you're excited to talk about the budget, right? So I'm gonna go over a few of the highlights. One of the big ones is the COLA budgeted is for 8% for the laborers, clerical, and dispatch. So it's basically anyone in the position with the salary range of 26 and below, and then 5% for positions above the 26 level. The estimated 5% health insurance increase is being absorbed by the city. And we are proposing to add 3 new full-time firefighters this year. A few of the capital items for police, we have 8 new vehicles, 4 carryover because they're having trouble getting the vehicles this year. Firehouse upgrades for $57,000 to help with the possible transition of the new full-time firefighters. A new salt storage facility for $220,000, and then the SCADA system for $465,000 with everything going on. So for the revenue side, we're proposing a water and sewer rate freeze. And also we're 8% increase in sales tax versus budget, and then adjusting the public safety transfers by 8%. Because if we take the sales tax up, we have to take the public safety transfers up by 8%. You have in your packets, I printed them since they're big files. You have your green sheet, which shows all of the reserve percentages, the fund balance tab, and then the 3-year plan, and also the capital plans. So I do want to thank all the department heads because we were able to get the 3-year plan to you on this meeting. We didn't think that was going to be possible, but but you have your first draft of everything. And a big thank you to Michelle for all she does for me. Does anyone have any specific questions about any of the documents? I appreciate those of you that have called already. So does anybody have any questions?
Real quick, because Brian and I didn't hear us, I checked. Water and sewer rates were freezing again, correct?
Yeah,
Correct.
correct.
And just as a kind of a general working process, more than anything, we wanted to get the documents into your hands here this evening for your review. Stephanie and myself are available, any of the director staff available to answer any of your questions. And then, of course, as we've discussed, we will have a work session on the 11th at 5 p.m. That will be prior to our city council meeting at 6. So if you have questions and want to save them until then, you're more than welcome to do so. But we'll have a chance more than anything else. I know there's a number of parks projects specifically that this council has talked about. And I think we'd like to try to tackle those certainly on during that work session. Some of the information that I've circulated to you in the last couple of weeks for your consumption and digestion. So again, I echo Stephanie's comments and will also say that she has done an excellent job in making sure that everything you have before you here this evening is set and ready to go. And myself and staff are prepared to answer all your questions.
Greg, this is a very, very good budget, and it indicates a lot of good hard work. Certainly, the process has improved greatly since they used to have everybody come before us. We have a very healthy bottom line, and that's because of you guys. So we're able to do some things and maybe look at some future projects. But is there any chance that we could come in below that insurance? 5%? What's the max we can go on that 10?
Yeah, so on our the way our pool works, the insurance pool that we're in for health insurance, it's capped at a maximum of 15%. Right now, based on our experience through 9 months of the year, 8 months of the year, our experience level is coming in below our trend, which means that the base rate is projected to only go up by 5%. So barring any major claims in the last 3 months of the year, we would anticipate that we would come in not too far off of what that 5% increase. If you recall, we did move to a calendar year as far as our benefits are concerned, our health insurance benefits. So we do have to kind of take a little look into the crystal ball to see on a fiscal year that starts October 1st, what our rates are going to do on January 1st. But we anticipate the way things are running right now that we'd come in at that 5%.
Yeah. Just once again, it's very healthy. The city's in really good shape, and that's because of a lot of hard work by everybody. So I'm very, very impressed with this. I had a lot of questions today. I studied it while I was waiting for my son at Mercy Hospital in St. Louis all day. And this is a very good budget. It's a really good process. You guys got it down to. So thank you for that.
All righty. Is there any, go ahead.
The 5% increase is what's the base rate for coverage per employee?
I would have to look at that, but we are absorbing.
Just over $700 for an employee only.
An employee, they pay nothing out of pocket, correct? Okay.
Yeah, our employee, and then we subsidize a portion of our spouse, children, or family plans. So
You have that for the work session?
Yeah, we can
absolutely.
bring that.
Is there any other discussion? We'll certainly get into all the ifs, ands, or buts on the 11th. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie. We'll go right to old business, golf carts and UTVs on the city streets.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, City Council. We carried this over from our discussion 2 weeks ago. And what I have here for your consumption is an ordinance that the city of DeSoto uses. I know Councilman Collier had asked about where UTV is permitted in Jefferson County. They're allowed in the county and all of the municipalities with the exception of Arnold. But all of the other municipalities, Peebly, Herculaneum, Crystal City, DeSoto, Hillsborough, all allow UTVs on city streets. There are more restrictive when it does come to golf carts. Some of them don't allow it at all. Some of them have made some accommodation for the low speed vehicles, but for the most part, they don't allow them. So strictly what you have here before you is a proposal to amend our ordinances. It would have to come back, I should say, amend our code. It would have to come back as an ordinance at our next meeting for an outline of what the operation of a UTV would look like on our city streets. It also includes a registration where the applicant would have to come in and give us some basic information, also show proof of insurance, and then there would be a waiver of liability for the UTV to be registered to operate on the roads of the city of Festus. So following along with your direction, this is a proposal that obviously can be changed, amended, or just not brought to the table at all. But I did want to have something here for you in response to your desires at our last meeting. Happy to answer any questions.
Hey, Greg, I went to the Missouri State Highway Patrol website and did an accident report, and I left it at home. But in doing my research for the last 24 months, 60% of vehicle speeds had a fatal outcome in an accident. Keep in mind, we're going to have 55 down to a construction zone. Traffic's going to be diverted through Festus. This is disaster got written head to toe on it. I mean, can you imagine a golf cart or a UTV on Pounds Road or Oron or anywhere, and the way the cars are flying? And chief, I mean, we already have an enforcement issue you guys are fighting. So I can't imagine tacking this on you guys as well and adding them calls in. I just think it's disaster. I know St. Francis County, all their cities required except Farmington. And Farmington's dead set against it, and we're hitting that same level. I'm against it. I think it's a bad idea. I really do.
I don't feel like we're as similar to the other cities that are mentioned. We are more similar to Arnold at this point and becoming closer and closer to that, not to mention that you have the impact of county highways that we don't control. And to think that somebody's going to say, oh, well, you know what, it says I can't write it there, so I will not write it there. You're going to have the, I'm just going to sneak. I'm just going to sneak across there. It'll be fine. And that's my concern. I did call and talk with Matt Surdike. I like the letter that he sent, and he's in the mix of it. And he had a couple ideas. One was to really push enforcement, but at the beginning so that people really understand that, no, you can't. And I get that, but I think at a point you have to look at our chief over there and say, do you have somebody that you're going to be able to dedicate to that? And I can't help but agree with Mike at this right now with the amount of construction and new business, new people that are moving in, new businesses that are moving in. I just feel like there's a whole lot of variables and the potential of really negative consequences. You know, you have that in a car, you have that with a motorcycle as it is, but to put people into a vehicle like that, that's not really built for road usage. I mean, you're having to go back to have safety equipment added. And no amount of a flag is really gonna, I get why it's the requirement is there, but I just have really grave concerns about is this what's right for Festus at this point for our community?
Definitely not a golf cart. I can tell you that definitely doesn't fit in the city of Festus, but I hate to deny anybody that has the right and the freedom if they want to use a UTV. I mean, we have motorcycles now, you don't wear helmets. I mean, you can walk a gun down the street. You can, I mean, so what right is it just because they want to be in a UTV? I mean, I just think that's for each individual. I don't need to put more pressure on the police. You're going to have people do stuff all the time. They pass that law, no texting and driving. People still going to do it. It says they can't get a ticket for that, but you can get a ticket. You can look at your GPS. So how are you going to know the damn difference? I mean, it's I don't know. I just don't hate to deny the UTV part of it. I mean, if they pass all the stuff that they're supposed to pass, license, insurance, do the thing, I just don't like telling somebody no when we're supposed to be, you know, that's their discretion if they want to do it or not. I mean, it's I don't know, I just, the freedom I look at, you should have the right. If you abide by all the rules and laws, I know we're gonna have people that break it. Don't get me wrong, but I just hate to, I mean, but I know I'm just one vote, and I know Jim probably the same way, but we'll just have to see what I said. I know the timing is terrible because of what's going on with the construction. It's going to be crazy, but that's just where I stand at the moment. I mean, I don't have a UTV and stuff, but I just don't hate to tell anybody something like that. So,
All right, I appreciate it.
One other idea Matt did have, which I guess it has been done someplace else, I think he had said, was signs that say that vehicle is permissible on this street, that street, whatever. I don't know what that would look like for us to say, you know, but that was one idea, because there are going to be so many places where they can't drive them anyway, that you're going to have a lot of, I didn't know I couldn't have it here, kind of thing.
Well, Mr. Mayor,
Go ahead, Kevin.
so looking at the state statutes, there is a handicap provision in there for handicapped people to do this. Unfortunately, enforcement, it does put more on law enforcement, but traffic is the ugly part of the job. And not to mention, we allow 50cc scooters on the road whose max speed is very low, and there's no protection there. And a good percentage of the highway patrol reports were people under the age of 16 riding in areas on road and off road, to be honest with you. And I know there was a comparison to my own issue, and I would appreciate that people did not do that because it's nothing to do with this. But you know, I looked this over. You cannot ride them on 55. You cannot ride them on a highway. And granted, somebody's going to try it, but that's part of policing. And you know, I have something other in comments later for that. But you can't tell people that they can't do everything. You know, like I said, gas is getting close to $4 a gallon. There was a sample ordinance years ago. Bobby brought it up from the state that ended up having their ordinance put in place because gas was so high. It's an alternative mode of transportation. You have to wear a seatbelt. One of the ordinances I read that Greg didn't present was they required you to wear a helmet. And one of the citizens brought to my attention because he's handicapped and he drives this. He says he drives it in town to Lowe's and different places. He drives it to get fuel. And he said, you guys have specific ordinance against that? And I said, yes, I believe so. He said, well, I wasn't aware of that. I didn't know you could trump the state, but I believe we can. I asked Greg about that. I think I'd like to see the ordinance wrote and bring it to a vote. Then stand where you stand. You know, with Jim not being here and Mr. Kyler not being here, I'd like it to bring full vote of the council. I plan on being there tonight, but I had to sit in the car all day, and then somebody pulled out in front of us and didn't hurt, but I got injured in that. We didn't hit anybody, but had a rough day. But I'd like to see it brought to at least the vote of the council. Have an opportunity to put it in ordinance form, and then let the public see how we vote. Because I've had numerous questions in favor of this. I do have a small one. I don't even qualify to ride on the street. That's full disclosure. But anybody else, do not compare my son to anything that's going on with this like someone has. So that's my business. Keep that to yourself, please. So I'd just like to see it come to an ordinance to where we vote on it, we move on. That's all, sir.
All right, thank you. Just to some of what Kevin mentioned, the proposed language here does incorporate some newer language that was adopted by the state of Missouri under Section A, Item 3. This is straight from the state statute. Utility vehicles operated by handicapped persons for short distances, occasionally only on the state secondary roads when operating between the hours of sunrise and sunset. So that is in the language there. I think the question is, what we would vote on needs to be what would go into effect with a vote to approve it. So along that same line then, and not wanting to prolong the discussion, is there any other pieces to what's proposed here that council would like to see? There were the recommendations from Mr. Sirdike related to safety equipment. His email that I believe he sent to all of the council, the mayor and myself, talking about the addition of turn signals and mirrors. If that's something that needs to be included in the basic bits and pieces of the code, then we need to make sure it's more than just licenses, insurance, flag, and sticker. We need to make sure that that language is included in there as well, or if you just don't feel that it's necessary.
Great. One question. I looked into that too also, and online most kits with turn signals, horns, most all of them have brake lights, was about $30. Now, I don't know what it costs for the installation. I know what we were sent. But if we're so concerned with safety, shouldn't we address the 50cc scooter thing that basically requires no helmet, no nothing? all you have to do is have a driver's license. I know we had that in our ordinance that it's allowed, but I mean, if that's so dangerous, shouldn't we put it in the wording of this too? Because you can ride if
It's a completely separate issue.
right.
Yeah,
What, should
the
we
code,
combine
the code that addresses the pocket bikes would be something we'd have to bring up in a separate piece of legislation outside of this. And we can certainly take a look at that. I can get something into your hands in the coming days as far as what we would need to do to repeal our existing allowance of the 50cc
Right.
bike.
On that issue to compare to this issue, is there anything else that we require on that end that should be put in this one? It being something somewhat similar?
I think the only question really at this point, Kevin, would be if the additional safety equipment would be something that council would want to see in the language of the bill, which would be the mirrors and turn signals. Those are not in the current language as you have here in front of you tonight. And helmets are not in there as well.
Right. So does the state statute does say about the turn signals and horns?
No.
I'd like to see that in there.
UTVs are classified as farm equipment still, even though, you know, you can see some of them out there that can go 90 to nothing and fly right down the road. And I don't know if they're using it to haul hay. So it would
I'd like
be
that put in there.
okay.
So at least the turn signals and you know, because I guess the other thing is you use hand signals, which I guess you could still do. I don't know if Doug got handed, but you know, I'd like to see that put in there, and I'd just like to see it come to a vote. See how everybody votes. Let people know how you vote on it, because a lot of questions, a lot of people want it, a lot of people don't. So that's all.
Hey, Kevin, on the lights and turn signals, I understand, but the helmets, if you don't allow them on the motorcycles, like, why would you do that with an ATV?
Yeah, I see it being a fight. Somebody sent me a sample ordinance, I believe from, don't quote me, Clinton, Missouri, and they had that in there as an additional thing. And I brought it to Greg's attention, but a lot of it was off the state ordinance. I did my homework. I got any other things presented with this. So yeah, I could see that would be hard to enforce. So, you know, that was just something that was in a sample that a citizen sent me that is also a handicapped individual. So.
Okay. I'd like to chime in real quick here.
Go ahead.
Brian. I have a lot of points to make, but I'm not going to do that because it's not the right time to do it. I don't believe. If we come to a vote, you know, I can do it then. But basically, you have a chief of police, you have the fire chief saying they don't want it. Even on the certificate of origin for side-by-sides, they are printed for off-road use only. There's no anti-lock brakes on them. There's no safety glass on them. There are numerous other safety issues with them. There's no lights, turn signals on them also. They're not made for the roads. The differentials on the back are locked. They're not made for going around street corners, hence making emergency maneuvering difficult on streets. And as far as not being able to get out on Highway A or 55, some of those side-by-sides have 240 horsepower and can travel up to 100 miles an hour. So there's a lot of polarization with this. I understand everybody's point of view, but just to finish this up, I think we're the wrong community to have this in. And as Stacy said, I think we're closer to Arnold than we are with the other communities that we're comparing this to.
All right, thank you.
Real quick. So we're going to wait again and talk about this the fourth time. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Tonight was supposed to be the night. So either we vote on it or we don't.
Well,
I don't want to carry this over.
If I remember correctly, what came out of the last meeting was that there would be a survey of neighboring communities. There would be some proposed language for you to consider, but it wasn't going to be in ordinance form. So that's what you have before you tonight. Now, it sounds like we'll bring this back as an ordinance to get the final vote on at the meeting on the 11th.
Okay, and if somebody's gone, are we gonna wait again? What if Brian's gone? What if I'm gone? Are we gonna wait again like we are now? I mean, are we gonna
If
postpone?
we have a quorum, we can vote.
Quorum now? I don't want this to go any
But
farther.
I mean, I understand what you're saying. I guess if you would want to put that in the form of a motion that we not bring this back. I don't know if that's a good way of doing that, Brian, or not.
No, you can do that. Yeah, and so with two absences, the mayor could theoretically break a 3-3 tie if it comes to that. So
Then I'll make the motion. We beat this to death, and I think we could pretty much know how the room feels. So let's take a vote. I'll make the motion. If it passes, great. If not, we'll do it next time. But I will make that motion.
Unfair for the two that are not here though, Mike.
Bobby, we knew this was coming. We
I know,
knew
but,
this.
but we said we was gonna wait. till-
Okay, so
Gentlemen,
well, I'm making a motion.
motion's been made that we not allow. I'll need a second to the motion.
I'll second it.
Motion's been made and seconded.
We ought to roll call that.
Roll call, please.
Councilman Cook,
I'm a yay on that.
So no.
So it's a yay for a no. Go figure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Councilman Weiner,
Yes.
Councilman Boyer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Templeton.
If we say no, now, does that kill this? Or does it mean it would have to come back as an ordinance for people to vote on?
This would end it tonight, at least for 90 days, because we've taken there's been a motion, a second, and a vote. And it would have to probably fundamentally change in how it was presented in order for it to come back, which would be very difficult to do. So in not so many words, yes, it would kill it.
Yes.
Councilman. No, okay. Councilman Dennis,
No.
4-2.
The motion is 4 yes, 2 no. The motion passes. This is dead for 90 days at least. Okay, let's get into Councilman Cook.
Thank you, sir. Just a few quick things and Matt and Mark, can you guys are gonna work on that KC Hall, correct, for Miss Theodore? I figured that because usually you're on top of it, so I appreciate it. And Greg, talk to me a little more real quick. It's been a long one. So we're waiting for a study from the engineering firm on the water main replacement program, correct?
Yeah, that was something that if you recall, we appropriated funds last October and went through our RFQ process, had 3 firms that we interviewed back in March. We selected Burns and McDonnell. They're in the process of doing the first phase of our water master plan. That plan will help us identify problem areas within the system, whether they be flow issues from a public safety standpoint, or they be quality issues like we're experiencing over on Edgewood right now. We expect to take delivery on that plan by the end of October, 1st of November. We do have in the budget the next phase of the plan as well, so we'll be able to continue to push this kind of ball up the hill in relation to the growth of the community and additional water storage and other things like that. But yeah, I did leave a copy of the Burns and McDonnell proposal that they gave us back in March for you to take a look at and review. I can get copies to anyone else as well. You can see basically what we're talking about, how they identify hotspots around town, so that you will really have a hit list of areas that need to be targeted right out of the box. Once they completed their work, they've done, I know, flow testing, pressure testing, hydrant testing, and we expect that they would be done with presenting that. And I would like to have them be able to come to the full council and make that presentation once that study's ready to go.
Okay, thank you so much. Ms. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Councilman Weiner.
So on the Edgewood problem, I know there's been a lot of work that's gone into that. And so as of now, as the way I understand it, the bills that have been received from last time, the water part of that will be waived. And that the sewer and the trash will have to be paid by the people who have been experiencing these problems on Edgewood. And then going forward, I'm a little confused as to 2 or 3 months of water waiving then.
As we've discussed, if the residents contact us, Christie has done a real good job so far of compiling all of the residences, noting the quality issues they've been having, been asking some pretty good questions from, and the residents, most of them have been responsive in giving us some information. So we have kind of a better sense of the problem. So yes, this month, certainly next month. And if it takes another one, then so be it. We want to be as responsive as possible and realize that it's going to, we know it's going to take some time.
I'm sorry.
In the term of months to be able to get this problem clear up.
Okay.
I want to make sure you catch that's complaint based. Like Greg said, they have to contact us. It was not a wholesale absolution of the bill. So that was not removed. We did not absolve their bills just because they lived in that neighborhood. They had to call us with problems because again, it was not every resident was affected. Not every home had the discolored water. So it was only by request.
Thank you. Just 1 second, please. If I could have Councilman Cook just chime in as to some of the research he's done.
On the sewer main replacement though, on the study.
Water main?
Thank you.
Okay.
It's been a long night.
Yeah.
I apologize. I'm trying to be real fast. That's good. When we replace the lines, they're going to be looped because the constant water movement now will decrease sediment to keep the water moving. So that's part of this program, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
Correct. It's to identify specifically dead ends or low flow areas as well.
Sure.
I mean, the amount of detail that goes into this plan is pretty staggering.
Yeah, it looks like.
Certainly in low flow or dead end areas, we have dead end lines in various parts around town where lines weren't connected perhaps to the next development over, that sort of thing. So we want to be sure that we're able to target those areas and prioritize them, not just the Edgewood area, but all areas of
All
town.
areas.
Yeah.
And then last, touching service lines from houses really isn't the answer, as I was educated on. Correct? Once the water main's done, it's looped. That usually solves the issues. So when I was erroneously given information to some people about service lines, I actually misspoke. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, what we're dealing with are the cast iron or ductile lines that were installed in the 50s, 60s, even into the early 70s. So you're dealing with a water main that's been in the ground for at least 40 years. And it's going to have some, that's where this iron oxide comes from. So unless they have a home that would have galvanized lines in them, most of the homes that have copper or PVC or PEX now are the issues will clear up once the main is addressed.
Okay, so grab your chest. I was wrong. And Brian's done, sir. No.
I am finished. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you, Councilman Boyer.
Stephanie, fine job on putting that together. Now we'll tear it apart. Mark, what is going on in the large building back there behind Tetros up on the hill there?
Sure, that is Changing Appliance, building another retail space. They own the old Takeless building, Parks and Eye Care and such.
Okay.
And they have a retail space in front and then warehousing in the back 40%.
Okay, thank you. Matt and myself and Brian went to a meeting there Thursday night with the Tanglefoot Association, and Matt did a good job presenting about the parking out on South Second Street there. And he left some cards and there was a few questions and thought he did a real good job addressing that. So
Thank you.
and that's about all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. Councilwoman Templeton.
Stephanie, good job with the budget. It's nice to have it ahead of the work session. So if we've got any questions, we can go at it from there and hopefully be kind to it.
It's okay.
And on another note, on a good note, last Saturday was the Shop with a Cop purse bingo. Thanks to everybody's support. It was a phenomenal night. You have the number, Chief?
We don't have the exact number yet. One of the people that had some of the spreadsheets is on vacation today, but we raised over $30,000 Saturday throughout the course leading up to and through that night for the Shop with a Cop.
That's great.
There are other municipalities that are involved. However, our own team is far and away leading that crew and leading that charge. So if you've not taken a chance to get involved with what that is, take a look. It's pretty empowering. So thanks to the police department and the city for making that possible through our employees.
All right, thank you, Councilman Vins.
Thanks for this. And other than that, that's it, sir.
All right, thank you, Councilman Dennis.
I did want to say one thing to Doug. There has been a police presence over on Horine and Central. I seen it this weekend, not to mention it was a sergeant. Corey Fitzsimmons was patrolling. So leading into that, maybe we have come a time, we've heard a lot about growing pains tonight with traffic and different things, different subdivisions, getting out on the road. Maybe it's come a time there where we look at putting on a designated traffic unit. And I've talked to Doug a little about this. I know Chief Lewis was also a fan of it, where that's all they do is traffic. And I know, once again, tell me how to pay for it, Kevin. But I'm just saying that's something I think we need to look at. I know other cities have traffic units to where all they do is run traffic, and that's their assigned job. Other than that, I talked to Doug a little bit about it, but I did want to say one thing, that there definitely has been a police presence over here. It can't be everywhere all the time, but I've seen it with my own eyes this weekend. The sergeant has been over here. There's been numerous patrol cars. So we are patrolling and doing our best, but that is a thought. It's a wonderful budget. I've looked at a lot of budgets, not no expert on it, but there was a lot of good work done there. I know we talked the last water authority meeting, we did talk about the water, and I think we're doing our best to take care of the people over there. I don't know what we could do with the sewer and the other things or how to do it, but like I said, make sure it's out there that if anybody has a problem that they can come to you guys and take care of it. But other than that, I think there's been a lot of good work. There was a water problem over on Hickory and Huber. There was water coming out of a little port there, gas shut off. I actually got a hold of Chuck and reported to them on a Sunday. Monday morning, they were up there, they got it fixed. And Matt and the gang's already talked about how to fix the street. So a lot of good work going on out there. But that's all I have, sir.
All right, thank you. And I will echo the sentiments on the budget. Stephanie, thank you very much. We'll have time to have a good discussion on it on September 11th. Is there any other comments? Oh, I have one real quick. Matt, thank you for the white stripes on those stairs out there. If there's no other discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Hearing none, motion carries. This